Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reclamation podcast, where our goal is to help you reclaim good practices for faith and life. Today is episode 70 of the podcast, and I get to sit down with writer, baseball enthusiast, and just an incredible human being, honestly, Ethan Bryan. Ethan has a new book out called A Year of Playing Catch, and we talk about what it means to insert play into your life. Look, parents, I know you've been dealing with a lot. People out there, I know you've been dealing with a lot with COVID, and oftentimes we overlook the spiritual discipline of play. In his writing, he talks about going through 10 states, 12,000 miles, and making sure to play catch every single day. Such a good conversation, a rich conversation, a baseball conversation, which I absolutely loved, and I hope you love it too. If you do love it, do me a favor, leave a comment or review wherever you can. Give us a subscribe, however you listen to podcasts. Let us know. Follow Ethan on the socials. Get connected with him. Tell him how much you appreciated him being on the podcast. I love the opportunity to bring this kind of content to you, and it is through all of your support that makes it happen. If you're ready to be part of the Reclamation community, do me a favor, text the word RECLAIM to 66866. Get signed up for our weekly newsletter. Don't miss out on it. We want to connect you with more and more good practices to bring a little bit more Jesus in your life, or maybe a little bit more balance or productivity, or whatever it is we can do to walk with you. We would love to do that. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Ethan Bryan. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited today to have author, storyteller, and almost professional catch player, Ethan Bryan, with me today. Ethan, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a joy and an honor. Thank you so much.
Now, I'm a baseball guy. You're a baseball guy. There's going to be lots of talk of baseball, but it's not just going to be baseball. It's also going to bring it back to life. But I have to start with baseball. If you're going to rank your top 5 baseball movies, you open the book with a story about Field of Dreams, but I wonder if that's where you're hanging your hat on top 5 baseball movies.
Ooh, wow, man, you just
I came out
right off
swinging.
I don't know that I can rank. I mean, 42.
Oh, that's a good one.
A League of Their Own.
Okay, all right.
The Rookie.
Really?
Yeah. I got to play catch with him.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
It does. And of course, Field of Dreams.
What's number 1 for you?
It depends on the day. I will not, if I see Field of Dreams on TV, I will not, the surfing stops.
Yeah. So
it's way up there. The League of Their Own.
I feel the same way about League of Their Own.
Might be the best baseball movie.
It's really, I'm a romantic, so it's hard for me not to go with For the Love of the Game.
Oh, For the Love of the Game. Moneyball.
Oh, Moneyball's so good too.
How can you not be romantic about baseball? I thought that's where you were going to go.
The Natural. What about that?
Oh gosh.
Come on, such good movies.
See, the thing with The Natural is it's one of the first times I'll ever say that the movie was so much better than the book. I could not stand.
I didn't read the book. True confession. Didn't read the book.
You don't need to.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. So 42's up there for me as well. League of Their Own. I'm going to go For the Love of the Game. And you're killing me, Smalls. I got to go with Sandlot.
Sandlot. Yes.
Sandlot is got to be in my top 5.
I actually was sandlotted today.
Were you really?
Yeah. I had baseball practice with some friends, and I was out in right field. And the pitcher said, "Hey, watch this!" And the batter hit a high, towering pop fly. And I literally just stood there with my glove. I did not move. It came straight down in my glove. Said, "You're welcome, Smalls."
Who were you playing baseball with today? This is a random Friday afternoon. Who were you playing baseball with? Tell me all about that. Fill me in on the details.
So I play in a league.
Okay.
It is called the Grip and Rip Baseball League. The tryouts are in just a couple of weeks. I played last year. I was the 4th oldest guy in the league. It is a competitive wood bout tryout league, 6 teams, 8 games plus playoffs. But the talent in the league is former Indy ball players, Division II college player of the year, minor league baseball players, and then there's me who topped out at high school JV. And
but you literally wrote the book on it.
Yeah. And so I've been practicing with about 6 guys. We get up at 8 o'clock Friday mornings, practice for 2 hours, and just to try and get ready for tryouts.
Dude,
So
that is so awesome. Hey, how long does the season last? Because it feels a little weird to be starting at the
yeah,
beginning.
it's just a 2-month season. You just play
Oh,
one game a week.
that's beautiful.
It is, and it takes all that time for my body to get ready for the next game.
So that is something I wanted to ask you. In the book, you talk about the impact of sore muscles and the way that playing catch had really profound. How did your body do playing catch every day for a year?
It took months for arm, shoulder, lower back, legs till everything was at least decently conditioned, where I didn't have to worry about it. I mean, icy hot, ibuprofen, ice, what was a daily regimen for weeks. And I mentioned I played catch with Jim Morris, who is the guy that inspired the movie The Rookie. I
Yeah.
think that was in May, and even in May, I was still having just a little bit of soreness, and it was probably June before I could go out and throw and not have to worry about it. I remember, I think Dad and I made a trip to Field of Dreams late July, somewhere right around, I think late July. And I threw for 3 hours up there at the Field of Dreams. And we were driving back before I was realizing, I was like, I feel fine. I feel great.
Oh, wow.
I got my first massage sometime in like August or September. First massage in my life. And they literally just did my shoulder and arm. And the therapist was looking at my arm. She goes, this has seen some use this year. I was like, well, actually, yeah, it has. And she worked a pretty nice miracle on it. But by the end, I felt fantastic, really.
That's awesome. So for those that don't know, the premise of the book is started as a Christmas present, and then on New Year's Day, you and your daughter Sophie, right?
Sophie, yep.
Yep. Went out to play catch. Kind of tell us how the genesis of this book, where you decided that you were going to play a year of catch every day. Is that the gist of it?
Well, so I write. I do freelance writing. I write for friends. I'm usually working on multiple book projects at the time. And going into 2018, I already had 2 books that I was working on, and that I would be working on for a couple of months. And so I was not thinking about a book project at all. And so for Christmas 2017, my youngest daughter, Sophie, just gives me a baseball, and she's a phenomenal artist. And I wish I could just show you pictures that she's doing. But it was just an old baseball, and on it was written, Dad, want to play catch. And so I thought it was kind of like, how kids give you gift certificates to do this or that with you. I thought this was a gift certificate that if I asked her for a game of catch, she would say yes. So I'm going to pause the story there. And we took 2 catch playing trips around the country. We took one to the second one, we went down to Florida. And on the way back, we connected with a father and son in Georgia, and a newspaper, a sports columnist came out and covered the story about Catch 365 in Georgia. And the columnist wanted to talk to Sophie, and he said, so you gave your dad this gift certificate for Christmas? And she said, well, it wasn't exactly a gift certificate. And that was we were 6 months into the project, and that was the first time I'd heard about it. And I was like, wait, that you didn't? So it was just a gift. It was just decoration. She said, I thought it would look good on your writing desk. And I was like, well, that's a good misunderstanding. So January 1st, 2018, you're kind of in that post-holiday blues.
Yeah.
And you're just you're sighing and breathing. And I'm cleaning up, and I was actually trying to figure out where to put her ball on my writing desk. And I just yelled out at her. She's in the other, and I said, Sophie, you want to go play catch? Fully expected her to say no. It was 1 degree outside.
Sure.
And she's like, well, outside? I said, well, of course, outside. And she goes, at a baseball field? I bet I could find a baseball field. Sure, we'll go to a baseball field. And then it was like quiet for a couple of minutes. okay, we can go. And I was like, oh, all right. Oh, yes, we'll go. So we put on like 5 or 6 layers of clothes. We drive to a field that was formerly used by semi-professional fast pitch softball players. And the good news is there was no snow on the ground. Sun was bright. Skies were cloudless. It was a beautiful day. It was just cold.
Sounds amazing.
And so we threw the ball 30 times because after that, my fingers were stinging. I had snot coming down my nose and tears in my eyes. And to this date, I still have a flip phone. And so I just yelled at her. I said, Sophie, did you bring your phone with you? She goes, yeah. I said, well, let's take a quick selfie just to remember this is what we did on January 1st, 2018. So we took a selfie. And at that time, I had an old blog that I probably wrote on once a month when I was just wanting to throw something on to come back to at a later date. And so I put the selfie on there and I said, it's like 1 degree and 30 throws and our cheeks were frozen. Or so I don't even remember what I really wrote. So that afternoon I'm doing laundry. And I think there's a football game on TV. I'm really not paying any attention to it because I'm folding laundry. And my oldest daughter, Kaylee, she walks by. She said, well, hey, I'll play catch with you. And it had warmed. It was now 5 degrees outside. And so we stepped out in our backyard and our dog just went bonkers trying to chase down the baseball and everything, running around. But it was cold enough that our glasses were fogging over, which is great when you're trying to play catch, just have fogging over glasses.
No, that's not dangerous at all.
Not at all. And so I think we only did like 25 throws. We step inside. We try to get a selfie where you can still see the fogged over glasses. And I just threw it up on the blog and said something like day 1 or January 1st, part 2, fogged over glasses, 25 throws. So I did something like that. So we sit down at dinner table that night. And the girl said, Dad, what would happen if you played catch every day for a whole year? I was like, oh, I know the answer to this. I'd need surgery. I absolutely, I would need surgery more than anything. And they're like, no, we're serious. All right. So they told that to me on January 1st, at dinner table that night. And that's really what started it. And I did not fully commit to the project probably for 5 or 6 days later, even though I found people to play catch with those first couple of days. So now about the second week of January or so, I was like, you know what? Which one of you is asking me what would happen if I played catch every day for a year? And immediately they're both like, oh, it wasn't me. I didn't do it, Dad. Not me. And to this day, neither one of them will accept responsibility for the genesis of the idea.
So let's talk about that, sure. the process a little bit of playing catch every day. I am very curious about what was it like to like. Sometimes I can't get my boys to come play catch. Now I have a parenting rule, and sometimes they listen to the podcast, so I'm going to let it out right now.
Yes.
If they ever ask me to play catch, I always say yes.
Yep. There's
always time to play catch in my mind. Now, it doesn't always have to be exhaustive. It doesn't have to be a full like workout session like sometimes they want to do. But I always want to play catch. Sometimes I ask them and they say no. And that's okay, right? Like, I mean, they're they're okay. Adolescent males, right? Like, what was it like and what was the process like to find someone to play catch with every day for a year?
So over the course of the year, I played catch with 530 different people.
Woo, that's a lot.
It was. My favorite comment. So one of the good things about writing the book is it helps me to remember everything that happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
And keeping track of the blog. So I was talking to a former major league player, and I said, well, I played catch with 500 people. He says, dude, that's just a ridiculous number. I was like, that's a pretty ridiculous project. yeah, I'm pretty ridiculous, thanks. So at first, so I'd love to play catch literally my whole life.
Yeah.
But it would be, 5-6 times a year, and that'd be it. And so finding people, Twitter, Facebook, my mom probably found 25 different people. And then, and so it became a full-time job that I wasn't getting paid for. Of so I drive my daughters to school in the morning. I'm like, Dad, who are you playing catch with today? I'm like, I've got no idea, but I got until I have to pick you up from school to find out. And so I had a backpack of gloves, carried it with me everywhere. And sometimes I'd send out invitations on Twitter. There were two really weird stories about it. One time I played catch with a guy. He said, "Hey, I've got a friend that he would love to do this." I'm like, great. So he texts me his number. And this is just how brilliant I am. I said, Joe suggests that you and I should play catch together. And that's literally something like that is all that I texted. And so they reply, "Who is this?" My name is Ethan, local author, baseball guy. I write on this blog. I'm trying to play catch with somebody every single day. And I'm like, yeah, this sounds great. I'd love to do it. When's good? And so we set up a day and a time. And I am under the impression that I'm playing catch with a guy named Brian or something like that. So I get to the park and I'm stretching out and walking around. And this lady walks up to me. She taps me, "Are you Ethan?" Yeah. She goes, "Hi, I'm Sarah." I was like, "Hi, Sarah." She's like, "Yeah, I'm here to play catch." I'm like, okay. I said, "Are you related to Brian?" She said, "No, but you texted me." So somehow the numbers had gotten mixed up in the texts, and
Oh my!
and it's like, and so there was that story, and it turned out to be we had a wonderful time and just fantastic. And she said, "I love
Okay, so
baseball."
when you guys are doing this, like, I know you talk about a little bit of the details in the book, but dive into help us understand, kind of paint the picture. Sarah shows up to the park. Did she bring a glove? Or you always have two gloves?
Oh, I always had like 6 gloves.
Got it. Righties and lefties?
Oh yeah, I had the local Play It Again Sports gave me a glove for lefties in case I ever had a lefty that needed one.
And so then, how far apart are you guys?
It depends on the person.
Sure.
I played catch with several people who had never worn a glove or played catch before in their life.
Oh,
And so you start out really close. You're like 10 feet away. And I make this promise. I was like, the last thing I want to do is hurt you. So if you will hold the glove open, I will throw the ball and it will land in the glove. And so, you start with just these little soft underhand tosses. Sure. And they're like, okay, I got it. So by the end, almost always we're about 40, 45 feet apart, just throwing overhand, and it was fine. There were only 2 injuries over the entire year. They were both my fault.
Wait, did you hit him in the head or what?
One person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just an icy day. It was just really cold, and the ball just slipped and went right. She was significantly shorter than me, and literally just went right over her glove and popped her in the head. I was like, well, now I feel like an idiot. And then the other one, we were playing catch in the rain, and it was on like a rubberized surface, and my foot just slipped, and I was playing catch with his dad, who was behind him, and the son was in the middle, and I just pegged the son right in the hand. And I was like, "Oh, I feel like an idiot again."
So then, do you usually are you usually like intentional dialogue during that time period, or I mean, obviously you're a storyteller, and so you're getting lots of stories. Tell me about that.
So the worry for the first couple months is, well, what if I'm playing catch with this person and there's no story, there's nothing to write about or whatever? What I discovered, and what is still true to this day, even like when I was playing catch with the guys at practice this morning, is that playing catch literally occupies your whole body. I mean, you're working both sides of the brain because you're catching with one hand, you're throwing with the other, you're stepping with your feet. I mean, all of your sensors are engaged in trying to track this ball into your glove and then make a decent throw so that the other person can catch it. And since your whole body is engaged, it kind of lowers the gatekeepers in the brain to open up conversation. And like you were saying, whenever your sons ask you for catch, you always say yes. Well, that's how it grew up with Dad. My dad was a veterinarian who made house calls. And so over the course of a day, he's driving 200 miles and not leaving city limits, taking care of pets. So he pulls into the driveway, and I greet him there with gloves, and he always said yes.
Wow.
always said, yeah, I do not remember an instance he said no. But I think the reason it said yes is because he knew that while I was trying to focus on being better as a baseball player, this is the way that I would actually talk was when we were playing catch. And so what happened over the course of the year was I always went in with like a couple of planned questions, like if I didn't know them or
Sure.
try and figure out what they would reveal to themselves online about, well, at least I know this is your job or tell me about this. But it really, playing catch opened up honest conversation, and it was easy to trust that everyone has a story to tell. They just need someone who's willing to listen to them tell it.
Hey, do you think play as a platform to vulnerability it was kind of one of the key takeaways for you from this idea? Because I know that one of the things that you kind of hung your hat on in this book is the power of play. Tell me about what you learned about play in this experiment.
Um, are you familiar with Jürgen Moltmann?
No.
Yeah, a German theologian. He wrote Theology of Hope is one of his most popular books. Well, he wrote a book called Theology of Play, and you look it up online. It's like $500 or whatever, and it's because it's rare and it's
Right.
just out of print and no one's doing anything with it. So I had a friend. I was at the end of the year, probably November or December or so, and I was wrestling because I didn't want to stop. I playing catch with people, that was the best part of every day. I looked forward to that so much, and I was trying to figure out why why is this. And he said you need to go find a copy of Theology of Play, and and that will help you begin to make sense of it. And so it took me a while, and I think I got it through interlibrary loan. And basically, um, play is a really full expression of God's kingdom breaking into where we are,
Hmm.
because you are experiencing life in the present tense and you are sharing it with someone else, and you're not afraid, you're not worried about it. I mean, real play, if you screw up, if I made a bad throw, well, I'm sorry, let me go get that, and it just continues. You adapt, and um, you shape the rules to include whoever wants to be included. um, so play became a taste of heaven on earth, and Moltmann's work helped me understand just how important play is to being human. We
I
we when we cannot be fully human if we are not playing somehow. I mean, play in itself is such a broad category, but you have to play to whatever it is for you to be your best.
So I'm curious, how much resistance did you run up against asking people to play catch? Like asking people to take time out of their day to play. I mean, I know that there were a couple of times in the book where you kind of, I think you mentioned once that most people just didn't respond if you would send them an email and then they would just ignore you. But did you ever bump up against resistance to the idea of play? Like I'm too busy to play?
Oh yeah, there were some of those, and there was some at the beginning where I'd send emails to people I knew were friends who I thought would be interested in it, but they didn't want to jump in too early. So when they saw that I had done 6 or 7 months, they're like, "Hey, I I would love to. Now that I see what you're doing and understand what you're doing, I would love to be a part of it." So there was the patience aspect of it. There was the don't ever read the comments rule, that
Mm.
sometimes I'd post a story and people are like, he is so desperate for friends. He is doing, I was like, oh, so don't ever read the comments. There was some of that. My favorite story along this lines was I was again recommended, hey, you need to connect with this guy to go play catch. Send him an email is the best way to get in contact with him. So I said, all right, my name is. Actually had a form email at one point that
Sure.
this is who I am. This is where you can read some of the day's stories. I've got 2 months left. I would love to connect with you just for 15, 20 minutes to play catch, tell your story. And his response was, I love helping school children with their projects. What grade are you in? I was like, oh, and it was just such a shot to my ego. I never replied. It's like, that's sorry. Just let it
Oh,
go.
that's awesome. Sometimes you just gotta let a man go.
Oh, sorry, I can't handle it.
What did you traveled the country multiple times,
Yeah,
right? To play
to
catch,
play. How crazy is that?
dude.
Travel
This
to
is
play catch.
everything I want. This is everything I want in life. It was my dad and my son and our families. We all went to Cooperstown as a part of a bucket list trip, and it was like one of those epic moments to see that. I'm curious, how did playing catch with all those different people in all those different parts of the United States? How did that change your viewpoint of our country?
Um, I, uh, I don't know that I've thought about it from that perspective. What I think about it is, man, I've got friends everywhere now. I've
Mm,
got friends in Florida and Kentucky and Georgia and Texas and South Dakota. And I mean, and these are people that were I not being intentional about trying to find somebody to play catch with,
yeah.
there's not a chance I would have met them. And so now we stay in touch on Facebook and email and Twitter and texting and friends in Chicago. I played catch with twin boys. So back on like January 10th or 11th or somewhere around there, um, uh, a couple of guys on Twitter, Cespedes Family Barbecue, interviewed me about this, and they are kind of the lighter side of the game and do some really neat things. And so from that, I got like 100 emails in a day of all these people saying, well, if you're in my neighborhood, I'd love to play catch. And I wasn't prepared for that at all. I mean, it took me a few days to respond to him. I was just completely overwhelmed. So I get this email from a guy named Shane. He's up just outside of Chicago. And he says, well, when you come to Chicago, you let me and my brother know. We'd love to play catch with you. We're twins and we play catch at our factory almost every day over lunch. And I was like, yeah, that's great. Thanks for sending your email. Thanks for your word of encouragement. There's not a chance I'm going to be in Chicago this year. Well, then we went to Chicago and we connected with and had a blast. We played catch at Millennium Park, right near the Bean, and just had such a good time. I said, well, here's the deal. Next game of catch is on my turf. So when you guys come down to Springfield, we'll do it again. 100 days later, they came down. And I just took them
You're
on a catch.
kidding.
Yeah, no, we took them on. I took them on a tour. 2 days. I focused on one brother, Shane, one day, Sean the next day, and I just drove them all over Springfield. And I said, look, these are some of the highlights of Springfield. Let's stop here and play catch, and we did. And so I don't know if I should give away the ending of the book. I'll just say Shane and Sean and I text all the time now,
Mm.
and and because they took a risk in sending me an email, and then we connected, and they're just neat friends. And so to go back to your question, um, I think our country is full of amazing people, and I am so delighted for the chance to get to meet just a small handful of them through this experiment.
That's beautiful. And I love, um, I've been accused of over spiritualizing baseball at times. And
Uh, that's
uh,
impossible.
thank you. Thank you for affirming that. I often include baseball as a part of my sermons on Sunday. And one
This
of
is
the
a good
things
thing.
that I just feel so relatable to me. Now, it turns out not everyone loves baseball, but one of the things that when you wrote in the book that really struck me um, is the rhythm of catch, right? And you kind of talk about it, about the process of how you grip the ball, how you throw the ball, the pop, and then back, right? And so I'm curious. It feels like the entire year was about rhythms for you.
Yeah.
How has your life changed in rhythm because of catch?
Um, when I finally stopped playing, there was that down season
Yeah.
of this is hard, and I missed it so much. And I got an encouragement from a writing mentor that said, all right, this is your book. You need to write this. And so I started writing it, and I started processing it. Um, and the day that I wrote a book about playing catch, and it was horrible.
Was
It
it
was it was
for
terrible.
was that force what was the name of that book? I think you mentioned it
Oh, no, no, no.
briefly.
It was this
Oh,
book.
this is the book. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
It
first
was
draft of it,
the first draft. All right.
so bad. Um, I literally deleted the whole thing.
Oh wow.
And when I restarted what became now, the first chapter, going to Field of Dreams with Dad, and really taking it slow. Um, there's a book I'm going to throw out here. It's called the Sound of Life's Inescapable Beauty.
Hmm.
It's by Martin Schlesky. He is a German luthier and violin maker. And in the preface of that book, it says that we have lost the art of creating metaphors for life. And as I started thinking about, well, what story there's too many stories. What stories do I want to tell? What stories do I want to leave out? How can I honor everyone who gave of themselves to make this whole year possible? Um, and I think that the metaphor of baseball for life, baseball as a metaphor for life, just took on a whole new depth. And so how it changed me? Well, it gave me the courage to try out for that grip and rip league. I tried out last year. If I had not played catch for a year, there is no way I'm trying out. And I had several friends who were partners in the league, and but like I said, the vast majority of them, probably upper 20s, young 30s. I tried out at 45, and favorite the commissioner of the league, as I'm walking off, he said, "Dude, that took a lot of courage." I was like, "No, courage is the farthest thing. I was just trying not to throw up out there." And then I get the text from one of my friends. She said, "Hey, you made the cut. You're on a team." And I
Oh
was like,
wow.
I just I wanted to make it through tryouts. I didn't even so there's no way I do that. Um, Again, answering your question just as long as possible. Uh, the friendships, the rhythm of the friendships,
Yeah.
and the new connections, um, and even in the oddness of the season that we are in right now, where there's no professional baseball.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's something about sport in particular that teaches us uh, how to be family, how it's okay to disagree with someone else and still value that relationship.
Mm.
Um, that might be one of the most important things sport teaches us. That you can have within the household people cheering for different teams, and of course, okay, so haha, you lost, you have to go do dishes or whatever, but the relationship still takes priority. Um, so it changed me. Well, one, I still carry a backpack of gloves wherever I go.
So that's a great question. Are you still trying to play catch with whoever will want to play catch? I mean, probably with less fervor, right? But like, um, playing
Well,
catch all the time.
I've been playing catch at least every week with. It's probably not a week has gone by. Well, when Springfield shut down for this day at home at the
Yeah.
beginning of COVID, I'm trying to remember what that was, like end of March, somewhere around there. Whenever it was, my oldest daughter is now a student at Missouri State University, and
Mm.
she had to move back home. And so it was the end of her freshman year, and so she is processing all of these emotions of school. She's processing the emotions of now her boyfriend has to go back to his city, and so there we get the joys of long distance relationship. And so and all of her, she's a musician, and so all of her symphony practices, studio, all this have now become online, and so she's wrestling with this. And so she says, "Hey, Dad, can we just go out back and play catch?"
Mm.
For those 30 days of quarantine, we'd every day, just for about 15 minutes a day. She goes, Dad, I've always wanted to learn a knuckleball. How do you do that? Well, I don't know what is wrong with my hands, but no matter how diligently I try, I can't throw. It's horrible. My knuckleball is terrible. In 2 days, she picked it up, and hers is like really good. Like to the point we were playing catch with my uncle a few weeks ago, and I said, "Here, let Kaylee throw to you. I'll catch yours." And at first he was thinking, because we were just in a small space, so she wasn't throwing as hard,
Yeah.
but she was still throwing her knuckleball. And there were a couple times his eyes just got really big. He's like, "That's moving." I was like, "That's what I'm trying to tell you. She knows what she's doing." So, man, I don't even think I've answered your question, but it is such a joy-filled relationship, those opportunities. So for about 6 weeks now, I've been meeting with these guys, practicing for the hopeful tryouts for the league we're going to have here, and we practice at 8 o'clock on Friday mornings, which is pretty early. There's a reason that there's no professional game at 8 o'clock in the morning ever, because your body doesn't do what you want it to do at 8 o'clock. And so to wake up at 6:30 for my body to be awake to play at 8, I'm like, man, I don't want to wake up at 6. I don't want just to, and it's so hot and humid and exhausting. But by 10 o'clock when we were done, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
And we're all tired. We're all dripping in sweat. And every single one of us is smiling. And it's almost like that time in the dugout where we're packing up our bags and getting ready to leave. We're just touching base. We're like, well, okay, well, next week, oh, I'll be ready for, I can't wait already. And we're so excited for the next week already.
Yeah, it sounds so much like an act of worship in a lot of ways. That it's. I think that in these kind of these pure moments, these brief moments, we get this kind of pure interaction in terms of playing and whole body play and diversity of the kingdom. You know, I mean, like, man, I mean, like this is like an incredible testimony to the people of God doing what they were created to do. And it's not just baseball, right? Baseball is just the medium in this case, although I think baseball is one of the best mediums. What did this year teach you about God that you didn't know before?
Ooh. Well, I'm going to touch on worship part for a second.
Yeah.
Because I used to be a worship leader.
Okay.
And those times when you are able to forget yourself and realize that you are with God, that's such a powerful moment that we don't get enough of, because it's very easy for us to get distracted by ourselves and our situation. And the movie Chariots of Fire, and the quote that's attributed to Eric Liddell, I feel his pleasure when I run. When I run, I feel his pleasure. Yes, that's how playing catch was. That being out there, I was aware of God's joy, and so I think that'd be it. That would be the thing that I learned and discovered through that Moltmann book as well, is how important the choice is to choose joy, to see that God is a God of ridiculous joy. You know, he was under no obligation to create in the first place. He created all that is out of a passion of love and an abundance of joy. He wanted to share it with others, and so stepping out in creation and just getting a taste of that joy every day. And that's why January 2019 was so hard, was that I was forcing myself to stop, trying to prevent surgery. But I was like, all right, haha, I don't have to do this anymore. And then it took like 2 days. I was like, oh, but there was so much joy there.
Yeah.
So, and now finding another rhythm of it, of, well, at least once a week, I am intentionally meeting with people where we can go do this together.
So let me ask you something really practical, because I think that there's probably somebody listening, maybe a husband or a wife, or somebody whose life has gotten really serious.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, this exercise, while profound, seems almost a little ridiculous.
Yep.
And I love it, right? I'm here for it. How do we move in our lives? Like, what's one thing that we could start doing today to incorporate more play? How do we start down this journey?
When I was 10 years old, I wanted to play baseball for the Kansas City Royals. And I think back to that. I mean, not the Reds, but
I was trying to decide if I was going to make a comment of, well,
yeah.
like, I love the dream, hate the team. But
yeah,
no,
exactly.
You guys took Billy Hamilton off our hands. I was so excited for that.
So I think my walk-up song, if I make the cuts this year, I think my walk-up song is going to be "My Shot." I mean, it's just too good. Yeah, but when I was 10, we know how to play. You don't have to teach anyone how to play. You do it naturally for the first decade of your life. It is that, I mean, it's that you daydream about at school. It's that you just completely lose track of time doing whatever it is. So the first step I would do is just remember, what was it, when you were 10 years old,
Yeah.
what did you want to do? What was it you lost track of time doing? What was your ridiculous dream that you thought, well, if I could do anything, this is what I want to do? One of my favorite stories I heard through the year, was of a lady who ice skating was her passion.
Mm.
Well, she got burnt out. I guess she was good, like competitive good, like if she had the devotion, Olympic quality level good, but
Oh,
she
wow.
burnt out on it, and just too many hours too. But well, at 30 whatever, she decided, I'm just going to go back to the skating rink and skate for me.
Mm.
And so she does a couple times a week. She just goes and skates, and there's no awards, and she's not getting paid for it. But she says, those 2 days I go, I love it.
I love that. It's simple and yet not necessarily easy, but to go back, go back to what was, right? Because we can't give of ourselves from an empty cup, and I really do believe that play is a huge part of that. I am curious. I really am fighting the desire to ask you to rank who the top person to play catch was with the year.
That's easy.
But who was it?
Every single day.
Well, no, but who was the top person?
Yeah. The person I was playing catch with that day, that was my favorite person to play catch with.
I figured it was going to be an answer like that, right? Yeah. What was the most bizarre? Do you have one of those, or was there somebody that you never thought you would play catch with? If there was somebody specific, or who was that?
Mary Moore. Mary Moore played in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League.
Okay.
And if you watch A League of Their Own, she's in it. At the end of the movie where they come into the Hall of Fame, she's there. And then during the credits, they have the live action game. She's playing in the game. You get to see her in a couple of scenes in the game. And so we went when we were in Rockford at Bayer Stadium, the home of the Rockford Peaches, which happened to be the stadium where Mary's career ended when she all but broke her ankle. She said if she would have broke it, it would have been better. But she played 2 seasons there. We're on the field. She was 86 years old, and she was just an absolute delight. So much fun. And, I thought she'd kind of laugh at it or whatever. And she just came up to me and said, baseball is life. Everything you need to know about getting the most out of relationships and for living a good, meaningful life, you can learn through the game of baseball. I was like, oh, I love you.
Will you please adopt me?
Yes. And then what's even better is, so that year, 2018, was the 75th anniversary of the start of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. So they had their reunion in Kansas City. And so that about 40, 50 former ball players went and toured the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum together. And I got an invitation to go tour the Negro Leagues Museum with the ladies of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. And if you tour the museum, by the time you get to the end, there is a small diamond with 11 full-size bronze statues of like Satchel Paige is on the mound, and Josh Gibson is behind the plate, and Cool Papa Bell is there, and Oscar Charlton is in center field, and Buck Leonard's at first. And so I stepped on it, and I said, "Hey, Mary, you want to play catch again?" She's like, "Absolutely." So we spread out on the field of legends and started playing catch. And another lady walks over and says, "Can I join you guys?"
Oh, my.
And so we're there with sons and grandsons and granddaughters, like all circling around us. And it was just the three of us just tossing the ball on the field. And it was absolutely pouring outside, like a hurricane had come up through the Gulf and it had now settled over Kansas City. And I mean, it was dark and drenching, and it was so much fun. So the times I got to spend with Mary and Perry Barber, she's a professional umpire, and the things I learned through with them was just they stand out quickly.
Wow. So this is a discussion my son and I have been having, and I'd be interested to get your opinion on it. It has nothing to do with the book, but it's a baseball question.
Fantastic.
How are you feeling about the idea of being able to listen to the players on the field in the COVID season?
I think it's hilarious. It's fantastic.
There's nothing I want more. Listen, I would pay a premium for whoever's listening. If anybody from MLB listens, I would pay a premium for an unfiltered, unedited. I mean, I'm not naive about what I'm getting myself into, but like, right, like a version of the audio of the game. If they pump in, I think that there's just something beautiful that happens when you're playing ball.
And have you seen any of those catcher cam videos?
Yes.
So the Royals posted one yesterday. Cam Gallagher's behind the plate. Whit Merrifield, been the best hitter in the American League the last 2 seasons, steps up, and you see the ball, and it is just piped down the middle. And the umpire calls a ball. And you see Whit turn to the catcher and goes, "Where the heck was that?" And the catcher's like, "I don't know." Okay, that's great. Salvi, who plays the game with the joy of a teenager, comes up to the plate and he sees the camera and he's like, "Oh, hey, it's good to see you." Makes all his joyful noises and everything, and then raps the single. And but those noises and discussions, when I played in the league, I mean, I was a bench warmer. I mean, sure. I get it. I'm old. I play a couple innings, get in at bat, put in as a pinch runner, get picked off, all that kind of joyful stuff. But you're on the field and you to talk with the other team, to talk with your teammates. Those discussions are so much fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it, and I'm just ready for baseball to get started. And so I'm excited. This podcast is going to be airing right at the beginning of baseball season. So I'm super excited for that. I'm super excited for you. And I already promised one of my other dear friends who loves baseball as much as I do that he gets to read the book once I finish it. Let me ask you this. Where is the best place for people to connect with you? Where's the best place for them to pick up a copy of the book?
Easiest way to get in touch with me is just my website, ethanbryan.com. Pretty active on Twitter, Ethan_Bryan. Pick up a copy of the book. I would tell you to buy it from your favorite local bookstore. I mean, supporting your community.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Now, if you don't have a favorite local bookstore, I can recommend a favorite local bookstore, but that's up to you.
Listen, let's put it in the show notes. What's a favorite local bookstore?
It's Hearts and Minds Books in Dallastown, Pennsylvania. It's owned by Byron and Beth Borger, and we got to meet them. So in 2015, I don't know if you know, but in 2015 the Royals won the World Series. Do you?
I heard about that actually.
Yeah. Okay, I thought you might remember that. So in 2016, they went to the White House for the World Series celebration.
Yes.
And me and my daughters got to go. We were in the White House with the Royals in the same room as the president.
Stop it. How'd you do that?
Well, I was working on one book, and then I broke my ankle, and it turned into another book. But through interviews that I was doing with the book before it transitioned, I got an invitation. They said yes. And actually, this is the best. We were visiting my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. They live in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
We were watching the 2016 Home Run Derby, which I think that's the one that Giancarlo Stanton was just hitting bomb after bomb after bomb.
Right.
And I get this email, and I just, you look at an email like, oh, well, this is just scam, this junk, whatever.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and I was like, .gov. I wonder if this is real. And so I just kind of show it to my wife. It's like, what do you think? Is this real? So I open it and it says, this is your invitation to come to the White House celebration with the Royals. We need this information, and it's in a week. And I'm like, well, we're in Houston, and our van needs to be fixed, and D.C. is a long ways from Houston. So we drove to Springfield, repairs on the van, drove to D.C. And on the way home from D.C., we went up to Dallastown, Pennsylvania, and I got to meet Byron and Beth in person for the first time. And they live in the bookstore.
Wow.
And so I've been ordering from Byron now for 15, 16 years, something like that. And this is what I love. Here, I'll tell you two short Byron stories. The first one, so years ago, I had problems online with checking or something getting hacked. And so I struggle with paying for things online.
Yeah.
And so I learned about his bookstore and said, hey, I'm really interested in ordering this book from you. Do you take checks? He says, oh, this is what we do. We will send you the book. And then in the book is an envelope and a receipt. And you can write the check. And I was like, wait, I have the book in my hand, and you're going to trust me that I'm actually going to pay for it? And he's like, well, yeah, that's kind of what Christians would do, isn't it? And I was like, so I have literally been ordering from him now for 15 years or whatever. And then, so this past week, my daughter placed her own first order from Byron.
Oh, wow.
And to get something in the mail. And when he packages it, he wraps it up really tight and everything and puts it in between cardboard. And you have to cut through the tape and peel off the cardboard to get to the book. And she ordered one book. Well, it came in an envelope, and I was like, well, there's no way that's just one book. And you open it up, and there's a second book in there that he gave to her as a graduation gift, saying, we're proud of you. We just want you to know that. And
oh, wow.
Like, well, so Hearts and Minds Books, Dallastown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Hearts and Minds. Is it just heartsandmindsbook.com?
Yep.
Okay, great. We'll link to that in the show notes. And if you want to order a copy of the book from there, that would be fantastic.
Neat people.
Sounds like it, man. Okay, last question. I always love to ask people, right? It's an advice question that you would give yourself.
Oh, gosh.
So if you could go back in time, let's say to the very December, the last day in December, before you start this year of playing catch. Now, if you could go back in time and give that Ethan one piece of advice about the journey he's about to set out on, what piece of advice would it be?
Oh, it's just get ready for the best year of your life. I mean, it's the end of a year, and so I personally am debating, well, do I make resolutions for this year? Do I want to do anything like that? Do I want to try and implement something new, something big? What do I want to do? And wrestling through those things that we typically associate with the beginning of the year. if we were sitting down and sharing Dr. Peppers, I would say, God is getting ready to do something amazing. Just have the courage to say yes. Because that first week, I mean, it was hard physically. My arm hurt. I remember I would wake up and my fingers were stinging and tingly and just kind of those carpal tunnel-ish sensations. And I was like, man, this hurts. So what am I? I'm too old. All the excuses you think about when you start something that's a ridiculous task. But the movie We Bought a Zoo. Sometimes all it takes is 20 seconds of insane courage, and having that courage just to say yes, and know that when you say yes, man, some of those doors that God opens then are just incredible.
That's beautiful. And I say amen to that. So Ethan, thank you so much for being so generous with your time today. Thank you for pouring your heart out. And thank you.
When are you and your boys coming down to Missouri?
Hey, listen, I'm here for it. I would love to go and see the Negro League Museum, and it's on my radar already. We'll put it on there. I have a princess too, and she does play baseball. She just picked up. We just bought her first mitt from Play It Again Sports this year, and it's pink, and it was the best $13 I've ever spent. And we actually play some mad games of wiffle ball in our backyard.
Oh.
It's some of my favorite. We're talking bat flips and we're here for all this. Melton Burgers do not lack a boisterous plate presence.
Good.
So yes, I got to get it on the calendar, man. And listen, hey, whenever I'd love to take you to a Reds game if you're ever in the Southwest Ohio area. Whenever
I've been told that they do something pretty big for opening day. Is that true?
I was like, oh, you don't know, but you do know. You were teasing me. Well, typically they do. This year, not so much. Not so much.
What are they going to do for opening day this year?
A bunch of the bars down there by the River District, I'm going to call it the Banks, are going to do some stuff, but they really can't do. I mean, the Finley Day parade is huge, and I've taken both of my boys to see it, and we've had opening day tickets. Usually, someone in the church blesses me with that, or some, like they tend to just happen, and when it happens, we always say yes. And usually I'll pull them out of school, and in Ohio we have this famous thing called Skyline Chili, and so they give away free conies on opening day. Because they're a huge sponsor of the Reds, and it's just the thing, right? And so we go get conies, and then we head down to Cincinnati. Worth it. Okay, yeah. That's how long it is. It's worth it. But yeah, man, you let me know whenever you're around Southwest Ohio. I got you for Reds tickets.
So, but should I wear Pete Rose stuff or not?
Yes, absolutely. Pete Rose is a legend around here. I have an autographed baseball on my shelf from Pete Rose. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Wow. Well, he's turned it into a secondary source of income for him. That's a whole different podcast. But anyway, thank you for being so generous with your time today.
What a delight to visit with you. Thank you so much.
What a great conversation with Ethan. I'm so thankful for him and his heart. One of the things that really stuck out to me was this idea about a rhythm of catch. I love the thought of rhythm in life and spiritual disciplines, and I know that I hope it resonated with you as well. So it's so good, and also the idea of asking for help, which is so not in my nature, but needs to happen. So again, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed talking to Ethan and getting to know him. He's a great follow on Twitter. He's on Facebook as well. Don't forget, you can pick up a copy of his book at heartsandmindsbook.com or visit his website, ethanbryan.com. Let him know how much you appreciated hearing him on the podcast today. As always, we couldn't do this without you. Come be a part of our community. Text the word reclaim to 66866. Get caught up on all that God is doing here at the Reclamation Podcast. Subscribe, leave a rating review. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family. It brings me so much joy to hear from so many of you how much this little pet project and hobby of mine is impacting your life. And honestly, I'm just blown away by it on a really consistent basis. So thank you so much. I look forward to talking with you guys real soon.